Can money buy happiness? The past few months, I've worked on a paper going in depth on the topic if money can buy happiness. It was pretty lengthy, 16 pages to be exact, but I did a total of 3 interviews, went over some primary sources as well as secondary sources to explore this topic more in depth and to get a better grasp on this question if money can buy happiness. It started off with an abstract, which basically just went over the basic points I was going to make throughout the paper and set it up pretty well. Then after the abstract, I had my introduction, which kind of more set the stage for the reader and provide a little more background information and a little more research context. And then next was a literature review, which I will be talking about in this video today. This one goes into detail on more of the subtopics presented and each of the primary sources I found and the ideas that they bring with it. This is where I conducted a few interviews, and it just basically went over the participants of the interviews and the methods that I used for those. And then the summary of the results basically sums up the interviews and what ideas I took away from them. Then the discussion basically summarizing the points from the primary and the secondary research. Then the conclusion and the further research. But most importantly today, I'm going to be going over the background review of literature. These were my 5 sources, all representing a different point for my argument. This first source that I found by Sarah Gervais gives a lot of psychological principles one can use to manage their money in order to provide themselves with true happiness. Whether it's like telling yourself that simply having the money isn't going to cut it, finding things you enjoy doing like going to the movies, going skydiving, or even vacations. The main idea of this article was that making these small psychological changes can lead to a large difference on whether happiness can be felt from having money. The second source that I stumbled upon was very interesting at first. It was more like a hypothetical take on this argument. Daniel Kahneman participated in a study with the goal to find the magic number for a yearly income that is to be considered enough to provide for the means of happiness. He expresses the idea that most of someone's yearly salary goes toward expenses like housing, clothes, meals, transportation. He says that there's still an amount of money where extra earnings can go that can have a lasting effect. In this study, they came up with the number as 75,000 as a magic number to unlock a rudimentary emotional well-being. Later on, Andrew T. Jebb updated the Princeton study previously done by Kahneman and decided to focus on the life evaluation of this. They wanted to find the amount of money where one would feel flourishing happiness, the ability to thrive in everyday life. They found that 95,000 met this requirement. This next article I found by Laura Akinen is very similar to the one by Sarah Gervais, both being heavy on the topic of investing money in experiences that have a longer-term impact on your emotional well-being. This brings the idea that maybe unhappy rich people may just have unhealthy spending habits and could be simply fixed. The next article we have on tap is by Stephanie R. Yates. In this, many research studies were introduced, for example, some done on unemployed people, social connectedness, socioeconomic context, happier workers, and other comparisons. One common theme she noticed in all this research was the interesting idea that humans could feel more happiness when they make more than others, rather than being on the same income level or lower than others around them. Social comparisons may really negatively impact one's happiness if they are insecure about their financial status, or it may boost it. The last primary source I found was written by Ronald Bailey. A point in this article that was important was how it mentioned how when one's income increases, they get a short-term boost of happiness, but when they set new goals and new aspirations, they lose some of their contentment and move on to the next goal. The term for this is the hedonic treadmill, an argument that many people on the other end bring up when saying that money can't buy happiness. Bailey does bring another good opposing viewpoint to the table, but Akinen and Gervais also previously mentioned that there are infinite possibilities one can spend their money with that can provide long-term happiness. The majority of my sources were found using OU Library's OneSearch. And in conclusion, the psychological, economic, hypothetical, statistical aspects of this argument are in support of the idea that money can buy happiness if used correctly.